You suffer more in imagination than in reality. But once your mind is still, nothing can break you. Every insult you react to, every failure you take personally, every distraction that steals your peace, it's all training you to forget who you are. But you can reverse this. You can learn to detach, to stand in the center of chaos and not flinch. That's true strength, not in force, but in calm. In this video, I'll teach you how to reclaim your inner fortress. Because when nothing shakes you, nothing owns you. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind, and tell us, where are you watching from? What breaks most people isn't the storm. It's their refusal to be still within it. Look around you. What do you see? A world in constant motion, chaos, change, the endless parade of events that demand your attention, that pull at your peace, that test your resolve. But I ask you, is it truly the storm that breaks you, or your resistance to it? I've commanded armies, ruled an empire, and faced betrayal from those closest to me. And I tell you this, strength lies not in controlling the tempest, but in mastering your response to it. The world will always spin with its own momentum. Nature cares nothing for your preferences. The universe bends to no one's will. But here's what most don't understand. The storm is not your enemy, your resistance to reality. That is what creates your suffering. When you fight against what is, you wage a war you cannot win. The rain will fall whether you curse it or not. The wind will blow regardless of your protests. Consider the oak tree that stands rigid against the storm. It cracks, it breaks, it falls. Now observe the reed. It bends, it sways, it survives. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. The reed understands something fundamental about existence. Flexibility is strength. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly accepted a situation exactly as it was? When did you last face adversity without adding your own layer of mental resistance, your commentary, your judgment? This is where true mastery begins. Not in controlling external events, but in controlling your relationship to them. The storm may rage, but your mind can be still. This is not passive acceptance. This is not resignation. This is power in its purest form. Think of the eye of a hurricane. All around it, chaos reigns. But at its center, perfect calm. This is what you must become. Not someone who avoids storms, but someone who finds their center regardless of conditions. The next time chaos erupts in your life, and it will, I want you to try something different. Instead of immediately reacting, pause. Feel the urge to resist, to fight, to control. Acknowledge it. Then consciously choose to remain still. Not physically still, but mentally still. Let the storm rage around you while you maintain your center. This practice, this conscious choice to remain mentally still, is the foundation of unshakable strength. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending nothing affects you. It's about developing the capacity to experience everything without being destabilized by anything. Remember, the storm will pass. It always does. But who you become in the face of it, that remains. Every challenge, every disruption, every moment of chaos is not just a test of your resilience. It's an opportunity to strengthen your inner stillness. The world needs this from you. In an age of constant noise, of endless distraction, of perpetual motion, the ability to remain still within the storm isn't just beneficial, it's revolutionary. It's a declaration of freedom from the tyranny of external circumstances. So I ask you, will you continue to exhaust yourself fighting against reality? Or will you learn to stand in the center of the storm, fully present, completely aware, and absolutely still? The choice, as it has always been, is yours. The heaviest burden you carry is the thought you refuse to let go. Consider for a moment the weight of your thoughts. Each worry, each regret, each fear you clutch to your chest, how heavy have they become? You walk through life collecting these mental stones, filling your mind with unnecessary weight, and then wonder why you feel so exhausted. But here's what most people don't understand. Thoughts are not facts. They are not commands. They are not prophecies. They are merely visitors passing through the mansion of your mind. You are not obligated to give them a permanent residence. I've seen great empires crumble not from external forces, but from the weight of their own thoughts. Leaders paralyzed not by real threats, but by imagined ones. Armies defeated not by stronger opponents, but by their own mental fatigue. The mind that carries too much will eventually break under its own weight. Let me share with you a truth I learned while governing Rome. Every thought demands maintenance. Like a possession, it requires energy to keep. The more thoughts you hold on to, the more of your vital force they consume. This is why a cluttered mind is a weakened mind. But let me ask you this. Of all the thoughts weighing on you right now, how many are actually essential? How many serve your growth, your purpose, your peace? How many are simply habitual passengers hitching a ride because you've forgotten you can ask them to leave? This is where the art of mental filtration becomes crucial. Just as you wouldn't fill your home with every object you encounter, you shouldn't fill your mind with every thought that appears. You must become selective, discriminating, purposeful in what you allow to occupy your mental space. Here's how to begin. First, acknowledge that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. This distinction is powerful because it gives you choice. Just as you can choose which guests to welcome into your home, you can choose which thoughts to engage with. Second, develop the habit of questioning your thoughts. When a thought appears, ask, is this useful? Is this true? Is this necessary? Most importantly, does this serve my peace? If the answer is no, you have permission to let it go, not through force or resistance, but through gentle release. Think of your mind as a garden. Every thought is like a seed. Some will grow into flowers that beautify your life. Others will become weeds that choke out what's valuable. Your job is not to fight the weeds. That only exhausts you. Your job is to selectively nurture what serves you and allow the rest to naturally fade. This is not about positive thinking. This is about efficient thinking, clear thinking, purposeful thinking. It's about understanding that mental energy is your most precious resource, and you cannot afford to waste it on thoughts that don't serve your highest good. The practice is simple, but it requires vigilance. Throughout your day, pause and notice what you're carrying. What thoughts have you picked up? What mental burdens have you unconsciously accepted? Then, with the same deliberation you use to organize your physical space, begin to sort your mental contents. Keep what serves your growth. Keep what aligns with truth. Keep what promotes peace. But everything else, all the needless worries, the replay of past events, the endless cycle of what-ifs, learn to set these down. Not through force, but through understanding that you don't need them. Remember, the lightness you seek is not found in acquiring new thoughts, but in releasing unnecessary ones. Your mind's natural state is clarity. Everything else is learned clutter. Return to this truth often, and watch how your entire experience of life transforms. The choice is always yours. Every moment you decide what thoughts to carry and what thoughts to release. Choose wisely, for these choices shape not just your mind, but your entire existence. Anger knocks, fear shouts, but you decide who enters. Picture your mind as a great house. At its door, emotions arrive like visitors, some announced, others unexpected. Some knock politely, others pound with urgency. But here's what most fail to realize. You are the guardian of this house. You decide who enters and who remains outside. This is not about suppression. This is not about denial. This is about conscious relationship with your emotional experience. Too many live as if they were at the mercy of their emotions, as if feelings were commands that must be obeyed rather than messages that can be understood. I've seen generals lose battles not because of superior enemy forces, but because they allowed anger to cloud their judgment. I've witnessed senators make catastrophic decisions not from lack of wisdom, but from fear they failed to question. Every emotion that controls you becomes a master you never chose. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you stood at the door of your mind and truly chose which emotions to engage with? When did you last exercise your power to say, I see you anger, but now is not your time? Or, I acknowledge you fear, but you will not direct my actions. Here's what most people don't understand. Emotions are like weather patterns passing through the sky of your consciousness. They are real, yes. They are powerful, certainly. But they are not permanent, and, most importantly, they are not you. The mastery I speak of comes in 3 stages. First, awareness, learning to recognize emotions as they approach. Second, pause, creating space between the emotion's arrival and your response. Third, choice, deciding consciously how to engage with each emotional visitor. Consider anger, that most demanding of guests. When it arrives, most immediately open the door, let it in, and allow it to take control of their mental house. But what if instead you learn to say, I see you, anger. What message do you bring? What wisdom do you offer? But know this, you are a visitor here. You will not make decisions for me. Fear, too, requires this treatment. It will come to your door, speaking of urgency, of danger, of the need for immediate action. But you must remember, fear is often a false prophet. It speaks of what might happen while blinding you to what is actually happening. Learn to thank it for its concern while maintaining your power of choice. This is not about becoming emotionless. The Stoic path is not one of suppression, but of relationship. Feel everything, but be controlled by nothing. Let joy come, but don't become dependent on it. Let sadness visit, but don't let it convince you it will stay forever. Let anger arise, but don't let it make your decisions. The practice is this. When an emotion arrives, pause. Take 3 breaths. Ask yourself, what is this emotion asking of me? What would it have me do? Then ask, is this action aligned with my values, with wisdom, with truth? Only then decide how to proceed. Remember, emotions are messengers, not masters. They bring information, not commands. The anger that rises when you witness injustice, it carries energy for positive change. The fear that appears before important decisions, it asks you to plan carefully. Even grief has its wisdom, showing you the depth of your capacity to love. But here's the crucial understanding. You can receive the message without being controlled by the messenger. You can honor the emotion without being ruled by it. This is true emotional intelligence, not the absence of feeling, but the wisdom to feel fully while remaining free. As you practice this, you'll discover something remarkable. Emotions become allies rather than adversaries. They enrich your experience without dominating it. They inform your decisions without controlling them. This is the art of emotional mastery, not control through force, but freedom through wisdom. Your mind is your sovereign territory. Your consciousness is your kingdom. Every emotion that arrives is a visitor to be received with awareness, understood with clarity, and engaged with choice. In this understanding lies true power, not over your emotions, but over your relationship with them. Stand guard at the door of your mind. Be selective about what you allow to take up residence. Feel everything, but be controlled by nothing. This is the path to unshakable peace. Between impulse and action lies your freedom. In this moment, pause. Feel the space between what triggers you and what you do next. This gap, this precious interval between stimulus and response, contains all your power. Yet most people live their entire lives without discovering it. Here's what most don't understand. Reaction is automatic, but response is chosen. When you react, you're a slave to conditioning. When you respond, you're expressing freedom. The difference between these 2 paths lies in your ability to pause. I've seen it countless times in the court of Rome, advisors jumping to conclusions, senators acting on impulse, decisions made in haste that took years to correct. Every hasty reaction carries within it the seeds of regret. But every thoughtful response contains the potential for wisdom. The art of the pause is not passive waiting. It is active presence. It is the warrior's stance between perception and action. In this space, you gather your power. You assess with clarity. You choose with wisdom. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly paused before acting? When did you last stand in that space between trigger and response, fully conscious of your power to choose? Most live their entire lives in a series of automatic reactions, never realizing they have this freedom. The practice begins with small things. When your phone notification sounds, pause. When someone speaks words that spark anger, pause. When fear rises and demands immediate action, pause. In each of these moments, you're training something profound, your power to choose. Think of it like this. Every external event that enters your awareness is like a knock at your door. Most people immediately open the door and let whatever's there determine their next action. But what if you took 3 breaths before opening? What if you used that space to remember who you are and what matters most? Here's a truth I learned while governing an empire. The quality of your life is determined not by what happens to you, but by the space you maintain between events and your response to them. This space is where wisdom lives. It's where choice becomes possible. It's where freedom is found. The practice is simple, but it requires dedication. Start with 3 breaths. When something triggers you, whether it's an insult, a setback, or an unexpected change, pause and take 3 full breaths. In the space of these breaths, ask yourself, what is the wisest response here? Not the fastest response, not the most emotionally satisfying response, the wisest response. But here's what most people don't realize. The pause becomes powerful only when you practice it in advance. You cannot expect to master this skill in moments of crisis if you haven't trained it in moments of calm. Every small pause you take today builds your capacity for wisdom tomorrow. Consider how many regrettable actions could have been prevented by a single breath. How many words could have remained unspoken? How many relationships could have remained unbroken? The pause is not just a technique. It's a revolution in how you relate to life. The mechanics are straightforward. When triggered, pause. Feel your feet on the ground. Take 3 conscious breaths. Notice what's happening in your body. Observe your thoughts without following them. Remember your values. Then, only then, choose your response. This practice will feel uncomfortable at first. Your conditioned mind will resist it. It will tell you there isn't time to pause, that you must act now, that delay is weakness. These are the voices of habit, not wisdom. True power lies in your ability to stand unmoved by these urgent whispers. As you develop this skill, you'll discover something remarkable. The pause becomes automatic. It becomes your natural response to challenge. Instead of being swept away by reactions, you'll find yourself standing in that space of choice more and more frequently. Remember, between impulse and action lies an infinite field of possibility. Every time you pause, you enter this field. Every time you choose rather than react, you express your freedom. This is not just a technique for better decision-making. It's a path to liberation. The pause is your power. The gap is your freedom. The space between stimulus and response is where your true strength lies. Practice it in small moments, and it will serve you in great ones. Not everything that demands your attention deserves it. In this age of endless notifications, constant demands, and perpetual urgency, a crucial truth has been forgotten. Urgency is rarely as urgent as it presents itself to be. The world will tell you everything is important, everything is pressing, everything needs your immediate attention. But this is the great deception of our time. Here's what most people don't understand. Urgency is often an illusion. It's a costume worn by distraction, a mask worn by anxiety, a disguise worn by the unimportant trying to seem important. True importance rarely demands immediate action. True significance often speaks in whispers, not shouts. I've governed an empire And I tell you this, the most crucial decisions were never made in haste. The most important actions were never taken in a rush. The matters that truly shaped the future were those that allowed time for thought, for contemplation, for wisdom to emerge. But let me ask you this. How often do you question the urgency that presents itself to you? When something demands your immediate attention, do you pause to ask, is this truly urgent or merely loud? Is this important or simply demanding? The myth of urgency has created a civilization of reaction rather than response. People jumping from one emergency to another, never realizing that this constant state of urgency is itself the emergency. It's a state that keeps you from what's truly important while convincing you that you're attending to what matters. Consider this. Nature, in all its wisdom, rarely moves in haste. Trees don't grow faster when you demand it. Seasons don't change because you're impatient. The universe operates on its own timeline, indifferent to our artificial sense of urgency. There's a profound lesson in this if we're willing to learn it. The practice begins with awareness. Start noticing how often the word urgent appears in your life, in your emails, in your conversations, in your thoughts. Then ask, how many of these urgent matters will truly matter in a month, in a year, in a decade? This perspective alone begins to break urgency's spell. Here's a truth I learned while facing the constant demands of empire. Time is not your enemy. Rushing is. When you rush, you serve the illusion of urgency rather than the reality of importance. Every time you allow false urgency to drive your actions, you surrender your power to choose what truly deserves your attention. The solution is not to ignore all urgent matters. Some things do require immediate attention. The key is developing the wisdom to distinguish between true urgency and false urgency, between what needs to be done now and what merely shouts to be done now. The practice is this. When something presents itself as urgent, pause. Take 3 breaths. Ask yourself, what would happen if I didn't respond immediately? What would be gained by taking time to consider this? What would be lost by pausing to reflect? Most importantly, ask, is this urgency coming from the situation itself or from my relationship to it? Is this truly time-sensitive, or am I allowing someone else's panic to become my emergency? Here's what most don't realize. Your attention is your most valuable resource. Every time you give it to something that claims urgency but lacks importance, you steal from what truly matters. Your deep work, your important relationships, your personal growth. These rarely present themselves as urgent, but they are what shape the quality of your life. The antidote to false urgency is deliberate slowness. Not laziness, not procrastination, but conscious, chosen slowness. The kind of slowness that allows wisdom to emerge, the kind of slowness that leads to better decisions, deeper understanding, and more meaningful action. This is not about becoming unresponsive. It's about becoming selectively responsive. It's about developing the discernment to know what truly needs your immediate attention and what can and should wait. It's about reclaiming your right to move at the pace of wisdom rather than the pace of panic. Remember, urgency is often a thief of time disguised as its manager. It steals your peace while pretending to protect your productivity. It robs you of presence while claiming to make you more efficient. Don't fall for this deception. Your time, your attention, your energy, these are too precious to be governed by false emergencies. Stand guard against the tyranny of the urgent. Let importance, not urgency, guide your actions. In this choice lies your freedom from the endless cycle of reaction and your return to purposeful, meaningful action. The stillest minds bend the world around them. In the chaos of existence, there exists a paradox that few understand. True power lies not in the ability to create motion, but in the capacity to remain still. The mind that can maintain its center while everything else spins in confusion. This is the mind that shapes reality. Here's what most people don't understand. Inner stillness is not passive. It is not withdrawal. It is not weakness. It is the most active, engaged, and powerful state you can cultivate. It is the eye of the hurricane, where clarity lives and wisdom emerges. I've seen it countless times in battle and in governance. The Aurelius, one who maintains mental stillness while others lose themselves in chaos, inevitably emerges as the true leader, not through force, not through volume, but through the magnetic power of unshakable presence. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you experienced true mental stillness? Not the absence of thought, but the presence of unwavering awareness. Most go through life without ever touching this state, yet it is our natural inheritance. The power of stillness lies in its rarity. In a world of constant motion, the still point becomes a reference for everything else. While others react, you respond. While others speak without thinking, you speak from clarity. While others are driven by impulse, you move with purpose. Think of a deep lake. On its surface, waves may crash and ripple, but in its depths, perfect stillness reigns. This is the quality of mind you must cultivate. Surface activity may continue, but beneath it all you maintain an unshakable center. The practice begins with recognition. Your thoughts are not you. Your emotions are not you. Your reactions are not you. Behind all of these exists a presence, still aware, unchanging. This is your true nature. Everything else is temporary movement on the surface of your being. Here's a truth I learned while facing the countless challenges of empire. The person who can maintain mental stillness amid chaos becomes a source of stability for others. Your calm becomes contagious. Your peace becomes influential. Your stillness becomes a force that affects everything around you. But this is not about forcing the mind into silence. That approach creates only more tension. Instead, it's about discovering the stillness that's already there beneath the noise of thought and emotion. It's about returning to what never left. The practice is simple, though not easy. Throughout your day, no matter what's happening, return to the awareness of your own presence. Feel the weight of your body. Notice your breath. Observe the space in which all experience occurs. This space, this awareness, is always still, always at peace. Most importantly, understand this. Stillness is not something you create. It's something you uncover by letting go of what disturbs it. Every time you release an unnecessary thought, every time you step back from emotional reactivity, every time you cease trying to control what cannot be controlled, you allow natural stillness to reveal itself. Here's what most don't realize. The still mind is not an empty mind. It's a mind so full of presence that there's no room for disturbance. Like a glass of water that's filled to the very brim, it cannot be shaken without overflowing. Your presence, when complete, leaves no space for disturbance to take hold. The benefits of this practice extend far beyond personal peace. A still mind sees clearly. It acts precisely. It speaks truthfully. It leads effectively. While others are clouded by reaction and impulse, your clarity becomes your advantage. Your stillness becomes your strength. Consider this. Every great decision, every wise action, every powerful truth emerges from stillness, not from agitation, not from rushing, not from stress. The mind that's constantly in motion can only create more motion, but the mind that knows stillness can create lasting change. Remember, stillness is not the absence of action. It is the foundation of right action. It is not the suppression of energy. It is the conservation of energy. It is not disconnection. From life, it is the deepest possible connection to life. Your task is not to still the mind through force, but to discover the stillness that is your nature. Let go of what disturbs peace rather than trying to create peace. Release what clouds clarity rather than trying to achieve clarity. Return to what's already here, waiting beneath the surface of thought and emotion. In this stillness lies your power. In this calm lives your strength. In this quiet center dwells your true authority. Cultivate it, return to it, trust it. For when you are truly still, the whole world bends around you. The mind that's calm in crisis was built in quiet hours. Listen carefully, for I share with you now one of the most crucial truths I learned while leading Rome. No one becomes wise in the moment of crisis. No one discovers strength in the instant of challenge. What emerges in these moments is simply what you have trained for, nothing more, nothing less. Here's what most people don't understand. The battlefield is not where warriors are made. The crisis is not where leaders are born. These moments merely reveal what you have already become through practice. The quiet hours of preparation determine the moments of performance. But let me ask you this. How do you spend your quiet hours? When no one is watching, when no crisis demands your attention, what training do you give your mind? Most wait for challenges to strengthen them, never realizing that strength must be built before it's needed. The preparation I speak of is not passive. It is not mere reading or contemplation. It is active training of the mind, deliberate cultivation of inner strength. Like a soldier who trains with weighted armor so that real armor feels light, you must train your mind under controlled stress so that real stress feels manageable. Consider this practice fundamental. Each morning before the world demands your attention, sit in silence, not to escape, but to engage more deeply with yourself. Feel the urge to move, to check your phone, to begin your day's activities. Observe these impulses without following them. This is your first battle, and it must be won daily. Here's what most don't realize. Every moment of voluntary discomfort is training. Every time you choose the harder path, you're building strength. Every time you maintain calm in small annoyances, you're preparing for larger challenges. The way you handle minor inconveniences shapes how you'll handle major crises. The training takes many forms. Meditation is not just sitting quietly. It's practicing the art of returning to center when your mind wanders. Journaling is not just recording thoughts. It's training yourself to examine your mind with clarity and honesty. Physical exercise is not just about the body. It's about pushing through resistance, maintaining focus when comfort calls for surrender. I learned this. Truth commanding armies. The soldier who complains about minor discomforts in training will break under the real pressures of battle. The same holds true for the mind. If you cannot maintain composure when your coffee is cold, how will you maintain it when your world is shaking? The practice must be systematic. Begin each day with intention. Set challenges for yourself before. Life sets them for you. Choose voluntary discomfort, cold showers, difficult conversations, tasks you've been avoiding, not for the sake of suffering, but for the strength that comes from facing resistance with conscious choice. Mental rehearsal is crucial. Visualize challenges before they arrive. See yourself maintaining calm in chaos, responding with wisdom to provocation, staying centered when everything tilts. Your mind doesn't always distinguish between vivid visualization and real experience. Every mental rehearsal builds neural pathways for actual performance. Here's a vital truth. The time to practice peace is when peace is easy. The time to practice clarity is when the waters are clear. The time to build strength is before strength is tested. Every quiet moment is an opportunity for training. Develop rituals that strengthen your mind. Write your thoughts each morning, examining them with the detachment of a philosopher. Practice maintaining perfect form in simple tasks, training your attention to detail. Engage in regular physical training, using your body to teach your mind about overcoming resistance. Study the wisdom of those who came before, not just reading their words but practicing their principles. Seek out small challenges daily, using them as opportunities to practice composure. But remember this. Training is not about achieving perfection. It's about developing the capacity to return to center when displaced. It's not about never feeling fear, anger, or confusion. It's about maintaining your foundation when these emotions arise. The qualities you seek, courage, wisdom, resilience, peace, these are not granted. They are grown. They are built in small moments through consistent practice, in the quiet hours when no one is watching and nothing seems at stake. Your daily choices are your training ground. Every interaction is a chance to practice presence. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your center. Every moment of peace is a chance to prepare for moments of chaos. Remember, the calm mind you need tomorrow must be built today. The strength you seek in crisis must be developed in peace. The wisdom you hope will emerge in challenge must be cultivated in quiet. Train now in the light for the battles that will come in darkness. For when the storm arrives, you will not rise to the occasion. You will fall to the level of your training. Suffering begins when control becomes obsession. There exists a fundamental truth that, once understood, liberates the mind from endless struggle. Not everything is yours to control. The wise person knows this. The fool fights against it. And in this difference lies the root of peace or suffering. Here's what most people don't understand. The desire for control is not the problem. It's natural to want to influence your world, to shape your circumstances, to create your future. The suffering begins when this desire transforms into demand, when you insist that life must bend to your will. I've seen emperors driven mad by trying to control what was beyond their reach. I've watched powerful men break themselves against the immovable forces of fate. And I tell you this, true power lies not in attempting to control everything, but in wisely choosing what to control. But let me ask you this, how much of your mental energy is spent trying to control what cannot be controlled? How often do you suffer not from what happens, but from your insistence that it should have happened differently? The practice begins with a simple but profound distinction. Some things are within your power and some things are not. Your thoughts, your judgments, your responses, your actions, these are yours to control. The weather, other people's opinions, the past, the inevitable changes of life, these are not. Consider this truth. The more you chase control over what cannot be controlled, the more you lose control over what can be. Every moment spent fighting against reality is a moment stolen from creating what's possible. Every ounce of energy invested in the impossible is diverted from the achievable. Here's what most don't realize. Letting go of control doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming strategic. It means investing your energy where it can actually make a difference, rather than wasting it where it cannot. The practice is this. Throughout your day, pause and ask of each situation, what here is mine to control? What here must I accept? Then focus your energy exclusively on what's yours. This is not resignation. It's wisdom. This is not weakness. It's strategic power. Think of it like a garden. You can control when you plant, what you plant, how you tend the soil, but you cannot control the weather, the speed of growth, the fundamental nature of the seeds. The wise gardener works with what's controllable while accepting what isn't. This understanding transforms how you approach every situation. When faced with criticism, focus on your response, not their opinion. When confronting change, focus on your adaptation, not your resistance. When meeting obstacles, focus on your approach, not the obstacle itself. When dealing with loss, focus on your growth, not your grief. But remember this crucial truth. Accepting what you cannot control is not the same as approving of it. You can disagree with reality while still accepting that it is what it is. This acceptance is not about liking what happens. It's about freeing yourself to respond effectively to what happens. Here's a paradox worth contemplating. The more you accept what you cannot control, the more power you have over what you can control. Why? Because acceptance releases the energy that resistance wastes. It frees your mind from futile battles and allows you to focus on meaningful action. The practice requires vigilance. Notice when you're trying to control the uncontrollable. Feel the tension it creates. Observe the suffering it causes. Then consciously shift your attention to what you can influence. This shift is not once and done. It must be made again and again. Consider these domains of control. you cannot control. Others' actions, but you can control your responses. You cannot control time's passage, but you can control how you use it. You cannot control life's challenges, but you can control how you meet them. You cannot control nature's forces, but you can control your preparation. This wisdom applies equally to small annoyances and life's greatest challenges. Traffic jams, illness, loss, change. In each case, peace comes not from controlling the event, but from controlling your relationship to it. Remember, every moment spent fighting what cannot be changed is a moment lost creating what can be. Every breath wasted on resistance is a breath denied to growth. Every thought given to the impossible is a thought withheld from the possible. Your task is not to control life, but to respond to it with wisdom, not to eliminate uncertainty, but to function effectively within it, not to prevent all problems, but to solve the ones you can and accept the ones you cannot. In this understanding lies freedom. In this practice lies peace. In this wisdom lies power. Control what you can. Let go of what you cannot. In this simple distinction lies the key to unshakable calm. Reaction is instinct. Response is mastery. In the space between what happens to you and what you do next lies the entire territory of human freedom. This space, this gap between stimulus and action, is where dignity lives, where wisdom operates, where character is forged. Yet most people never learn to inhabit this space. Here's what most don't understand. Reaction comes from the animal part of our nature. It's fast, instinctive, and often unconscious. Response, however, comes from our higher nature. It's measured, conscious, and chosen. The difference between these two modes of action defines the difference between slavery and freedom. I've witnessed it countless times in the courts of Rome. Those who react create chaos, while those who respond create order. Those who react speak words they later regret, while those who respond speak words that shape history. The quality of your life is determined not by what happens to you, but by whether you react or respond to what happens. But let me ask you this. In your last challenging encounter, did you react from habit or respond from wisdom? Did you let your instincts drive your actions, or did you pause to choose your path? Most people live their entire lives in reaction mode, never realizing there's another way. The transformation from reaction to response begins with awareness. Start noticing the difference between these two modes of action. Reaction is immediate. Response takes its time. Reaction comes from the past. Response exists in the present. Reaction is automatic. Response is chosen. Reaction perpetuates patterns. Response creates possibilities. Consider this truth. Every reaction strengthens the habit of reacting. Every response strengthens the capacity for responding. Each time you catch yourself before reaction takes over, you build the muscle of conscious choice. Here's what most don't realize. The ability to respond rather than react is not just a personal virtue, it's a form of power. When you react, you give your power to the trigger. When you respond, you keep your power and use it wisely. The practice is this. In any triggering situation, pause. Take 3 breaths. Ask yourself, what would wisdom do here? What would my highest self choose? This pause, this moment of conscious choice, is where transformation becomes possible. Think of it like martial arts. The novice fighter reacts to every attack, wearing themselves out with unnecessary movement. The master responds precisely, using minimal energy for maximum effect. This is true not just in physical combat, but in all of life's challenges. The path from reaction to response involves several key practices. Develop awareness of your reactive patterns. Create space between trigger and action. Question your initial impulses. Consider the longer-term consequences. Choose actions aligned with your values. Remain conscious of your power to choose. But remember this. The goal is not to eliminate reactions. They serve a purpose in true emergencies. The goal is to develop the capacity to choose when to react and when to respond. This is true mastery. Here's a vital truth. Your reactions reveal your training, and your responses reveal your wisdom. Every reaction is a habit playing itself out. Every response is a new choice being made. Which do you want determining your life's direction? The practice requires patience. Start with small triggers. Notice when you're about to react. Pause. Breathe. Choose. Each time you succeed in responding rather than reacting, you strengthen this capacity. Each time you fail, you learn where more practice is needed. Consider these domains of practice. When criticized, pause before defending. When angered, pause before speaking. When afraid, pause before retreating. When excited, pause before committing. When hurt, pause before retaliating. This is not about suppressing natural emotions or impulses. It's about creating space between impulse and action. Space where wisdom can operate, where choice becomes possible, where freedom can be found. Remember, every reaction is a choice you made too quickly. Every response is a choice you made consciously. The quality of your life is determined by which of these dominates your behavior. Your task is not to become emotionless, but to become conscious of your emotions before they drive your actions. Not to eliminate impulses, but to create space between impulse and action. Not to suppress instinct, but to elevate it through wisdom. In this practice lies true power. In this awareness lives real freedom. In this choice exists authentic dignity. React less, respond more. Watch how your entire life transforms. He who speaks least listens most and sees everything. In a world of endless noise, of constant chatter, of ceaseless broadcasting of thoughts and opinions, there exists a power that few understand, the power of silence. Not just the silence of the tongue, but the deeper silence of the mind, the silence that allows true seeing, true hearing, true understanding. Here's what most people don't understand. Silence is not empty. It is not passive. It is not weak, true. Silence is full, active, and powerful. It is the space where wisdom grows, where understanding deepens, where power accumulates. I've seen it countless times in the courts of Rome. Those who spoke the most often knew the least, while those who maintained silence held the real power. The constant talker reveals everything while learning nothing. The master of silence sees all while revealing only what serves purpose. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you experienced true silence? Not just external quiet, but internal silence. The kind of silence where you could hear not just the absence of noise, but the presence of understanding? The mastery of silence operates on 3 levels. Verbal silence, the discipline of the tongue. Emotional silence, the stillness of reactions. Mental silence, the quieting of constant thought. Consider this truth. Every word you speak is a choice to break silence. Every reaction you show is a choice to disturb peace. Every thought you indulge is a choice to cloud clarity. The master of silence makes these choices consciously, not habitually. Here's what most don't realize. Silence is not about not speaking. It's about speaking only what adds value to silence. It's not about suppressing emotions. It's about expressing only what serves purpose. It's not about emptying the mind. It's about allowing space for wisdom to emerge. The practice begins with observation. Notice how often you speak simply to fill space. Notice how often you react simply because you can. Notice how often you think simply from habit. Each of these is an opportunity to practice the power of silence. Think of silence as a form of wealth. Every unnecessary word spoken is wealth squandered, while every moment of conscious silence is wealth accumulated. The one who masters silence becomes rich in understanding, powerful in presence, deep in wisdom. The practice of silence requires discipline. Before speaking, pause and ask, does this improve upon silence? Before reacting, pause and ask, does this serve understanding? Before engaging with thoughts, pause and ask, does this lead to clarity? But remember this, the goal is not to become mute, emotionless, or thought-free. The goal is to make silence your foundation so that when you do speak, react, or think, it comes from a place of depth rather than habit. Here's a vital truth. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. The less you react, the more you can understand. The more you can still your thoughts, the clearer you can see. This is not philosophy, it is practical power. The practice requires patience. Start with small moments of silence. In conversation, wait 3 breaths before speaking. In triggering situations, pause before reacting. In moments of mental chaos, find the space between thoughts. Build your capacity for silence gradually, consistently. Consider these domains of silence. In conversation, listen more than you speak. In conflict, observe more than you react. In confusion, wait more than you act. In decision, reflect more than you choose. In relationship, understand more than you explain. This is not about becoming distant or disconnected. It's about becoming so deeply connected that you don't need constant expression to maintain connection. It's about becoming so clearly understood that you don't need constant explanation to maintain understanding. Remember, words are like arrows. Once released, they cannot be recalled. Reactions are like ripples. Once started, they affect everything they touch. Thoughts are like clouds. They can either reveal or obscure the sun of understanding. Your task is not to eliminate expression, but to make it meaningful, not to suppress life, but to experience it more deeply, not to withdraw from the world, but to engage with it more wisely. In silence lies power. In stillness lives strength. In quiet dwells wisdom. Master silence, and you master yourself. Master yourself, and you master life. Confusion is the fog of emotion. Calmness is the torch. In the midst of life's complexities, when decisions loom and paths seem unclear, remember this truth. Clarity is not something you find, it's something you become. The calm mind sees what the agitated mind cannot, knows what the emotional mind forgets, understands what the reactive mind misses. Here's what most people don't understand. Clarity is not the absence of challenge, but the presence of calm. When emotions cloud your vision, when thoughts scatter your focus, when urgency disrupts your peace, these are not obstacles to clarity, they are invitations to deepen your calm. I've seen it repeatedly in matters of state and war. Those who made decisions from emotional turbulence created more problems than they solved, while those who acted from calm clarity changed the course of history. The quality of your decisions reflects the quality of your mental state. But let me ask you this. When you most needed clarity, did you seek it through more thinking, more analysis, more activity? Or did you know to first find your calm most? People spend their lives trying to think their way to clarity, never realizing that clarity emerges naturally from stillness. The process of finding clarity begins with a fundamental shift. Stop trying to clear the fog by moving faster through it. Instead, become still enough for the fog to lift on its own. This is not passive waiting, it is active presence. Consider these levels of clarity: surface clarity, understanding what is happening; strategic clarity, understanding what matters; deep clarity, understanding what's true; ultimate clarity, understanding yourself. Here's what most don't realize. The clearest vision comes not from straining to see, but from relaxing the eyes of the mind. Just as a lake must be still to reflect the sky perfectly, your mind must be calm to reflect reality accurately. The practice is this. When confusion arises, don't immediately try to solve it. First, establish calm. Feel your breath. Ground your awareness in your body. Let your emotional weather settle. Only then look at the situation before you. Think of it like this. When you shake a glass of muddy water, the dirt clouds everything. But when you let it be still, the dirt naturally settles, and the water becomes clear. Your mind works the same way. The more you can let it settle, the more clarity emerges on its own. The path to clarity involves several key practices: regular meditation to cultivate mental calm, conscious breathing to center awareness, physical stillness to support mental stillness, emotional acceptance to reduce internal resistance, patient observation without immediate judgment. But remember this crucial truth: clarity and certainty are not the same thing. Clarity sees what is, while certainty claims to know what should be. Seek clarity first. It will tell you whether certainty is possible or even necessary. Here's a vital insight: the calm mind doesn't just see more clearly, it sees more completely. It notices subtleties that the agitated mind misses. It perceives connections that the rushed mind overlooks. It understands depths that the surface mind cannot fathom. The practice requires dedication. Start with simple situations. Before making any decision, any response, any movement, establish calm first. Make this your foundation. Build from here. Let clarity emerge naturally from your collected presence. Consider these domains of clarity. In relationships, calm reveals true feelings. In decisions, calm reveals right timing. In problems, calm reveals hidden solutions. In conflicts, calm reveals common ground. In opportunities, calm reveals real value. This is not about becoming passive or detached. It's about becoming so deeply present that you can see reality without the distortion of emotional reactivity. It's about developing the kind of clarity that leads to wise action rather than just quick action. Remember, confusion is temporary, but only if you don't fight it. The more you struggle against unclear waters, the longer they stay muddy, the more you can be still in the presence of uncertainty, the sooner clarity emerges. Your task is not to force clarity through mental effort, but to cultivate the conditions where clarity naturally arises. Not to think your way to clear seeing, but to become the kind of person who sees clearly because their mind is fundamentally calm. Through this practice, you develop not just momentary clarity, but the capacity for perpetual clear seeing. Not just occasional insights, but a consistently clear mind. Not just temporary understanding, but lasting wisdom. In calmness lies clarity. In stillness lives understanding. In quiet rests truth. Master your calm, and clarity becomes your natural state. To care deeply without clinging, that is true strength. In the journey toward inner peace, few truths are more misunderstood than this. Detachment is not about caring less. It's about caring wisely. It's not emotional numbness, but emotional freedom. Not the absence of love, but the presence of wisdom in love. Here's what most people don't understand. True detachment is not withdrawal from life. It's fuller engagement with life. It's the ability to be fully present, deeply caring, completely involved, yet not bound by attachment to outcomes. It's the art of passionate non-attachment. I've seen it in governance and in personal relations. Those who cling too tightly to outcomes often destroy what they seek to preserve, while those who care deeply but hold lightly create lasting impact. The paradox is clear. The more you can care without clinging, the more effective your care becomes. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you fully engaged with something while remaining completely free of attachment to how it should turn out? When did you last love without demanding, care without controlling? Most people never experience this freedom because they confuse attachment with care. The practice begins with understanding the difference. Care focuses on giving. Attachment focuses on getting. Care enhances. Attachment diminishes. Care liberates. Attachment binds. Care strengthens. Attachment weakens. Consider this truth. Everything you attach to becomes a potential source of suffering, not because of the thing itself, but because of your attachment to how it should be. Yet everything you truly care for becomes a source of strength, because true care has no demands. Here's what most don't realize. Detachment doesn't mean you don't have preferences, desires, or hopes. It means you're not bound by them. You can work toward goals while remaining free of the anxiety of achievement. You can love deeply while honoring the freedom of what you love. The practice is this. In everything you do, give your complete care and attention while releasing all attachment to outcomes. Work as if everything depends on you, but release as if nothing depends on you. This is the way of passionate non-attachment. Think of it like holding water. Grip too tightly, and it slips through your fingers. Hold too loosely, and it spills away. Find the perfect balance, firm yet gentle, caring yet free, and the water stays while remaining free to move. The path to this wisdom involves several key understandings. Everything is temporary. Attach. To this truth, love doesn't require possession. Care doesn't demand control. Impact doesn't need attachment. Freedom comes through acceptance, but remember this crucial distinction. Detachment is not detached. The detached person withdraws from life. The wisely non-attached person engages fully with life, but without the burden of demanding it be different than it is. Here's a vital truth. The more lightly you can hold what you care about, the more effectively you can care for it. Think of how you hold a butterfly. Any grasping will crush it, but an open palm allows it to rest and fly freely. The practice requires vigilance. Notice where you've confused attachment with care. Where are you clinging when you could be allowing? Where are you demanding when you could be accepting? Where are you controlling when you could be supporting? Consider these domains of practice. In relationships, love without possessing. In work, create without attaching. In service, give without demanding. In growth, strive without straining. In leadership, guide without controlling. This is not about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming so secure in your care that you don't need to cling, so confident in your love that you don't need to possess, so clear in your purpose that you don't need to control. Remember, attachment is born of fear, fear of loss, fear of change, fear of not having control. But true care is born of love, and love in its purest form has no fear. It needs no guarantees. It makes no demands. Your task is not to stop caring, but to care more wisely. Not to avoid commitment, but to commit without attachment. Not to withdraw from life, but to engage with it more freely. This is the path to both maximum impact and maximum peace. Through this practice, you develop the capacity to love without possessing, give without requiring, serve without attaching, create without controlling, live without demanding. In this understanding lies true freedom. In this practice lies real strength. In this wisdom lives lasting peace. Care deeply, hold lightly, live fully. Their judgment is not your burden to carry. In the arena of life, few challenges test our calm more deeply than the opinions of others. Their praise can inflate us, their criticism can deflate us, and their judgment can shake us, but only if we allow it. The art of remaining unshaken lies in understanding a fundamental truth. What others think of you is not your responsibility to manage. Here's what most people don't understand. The opinions of others reveal more about them than about you. Their judgments are projections of their own fears, limitations, and understanding. When you take their words personally, you carry burdens that were never yours to bear. I've seen it countless times in the courts of Rome. Those who lived for approval became slaves to opinion, while those who stood in their truth remained free, regardless of praise or blame. The quality of your life is directly proportional to your ability to remain unshaken by judgment. But let me ask you this. How much of your energy is spent wondering what others think? How often do you adjust your words, your actions, your very being to manage their perceptions? Most people live in a prison of perceived judgment, never realizing they hold the key to their own freedom. The practice begins with a simple but profound shift. Stop making others' opinions your responsibility. Their thoughts are their property, not yours. Their judgments are their creations, not your burden. Their understanding is their limitation, not your reality. Consider these levels of freedom. Freedom from praise dependency. freedom from criticism, sensitivity, freedom from approval seeking, freedom from judgment, fear, freedom from opinion management. Here's what most don't realize. The less you need others to understand you, the more clearly they can see you. The less you manage their perceptions, the more authentic your presence becomes. The less you carry their judgments, the more of your own power you retain. The practice is this: when judgment comes, and it will come, pause. Feel the initial reaction in your body. Notice the urge to defend, explain, or withdraw. Then remember, their words reflect their reality, not yours. Their opinion is their freedom, and your response is yours. Think of it like this. If someone says the sun is dark, do you argue? Do you try to convince them? No, you recognize that their perception doesn't change the sun's nature. Your truth is like this. It needs no defense. It requires no explanation. It stands independent of opinion. The path to this freedom involves several key practices: regular self-validation, clear personal values, strong inner reference, emotional independence, authentic self-expression. But remember this crucial truth. Being unshaken by judgment doesn't mean being unaware of feedback. It means having the wisdom to distinguish between useful feedback and mere opinion, between constructive criticism and projected judgment. Here's a vital insight. The more solidly you stand in your own truth, the less you need others to understand it. The more clearly you know your own worth, the less you need others to validate it. The more deeply you trust your own path, the less you need others to approve it. The practice requires courage. Start with small exposures to judgment. Notice how you automatically give weight to others' opinions. Practice letting their words be about them rather than taking them as truth about you. Build your immunity gradually but consistently. Consider these domains of practice. In creativity, create without seeking approval. In decisions, choose without needing agreement. In expression, speak without requiring understanding. In purpose, live without demanding recognition. In growth, develop without external validation. This is not about becoming arrogant or dismissive. It's about becoming so secure in your own truth that others' opinions can inform you without defining you. It's about being open to feedback while remaining closed to judgment. Remember, every time you take someone's judgment personally, you abandon your own power. Every time you seek approval, you give away your authority. Every time you let others' opinions shake you, you forget who you are. Your task is not to eliminate judgment. It will always exist. Your task is to stop converting judgment into burden. Stop turning opinions into obligations. Stop making others' thoughts your responsibility. Through this practice, you develop unshakable self-trust, authentic self-expression, clear boundaries, inner authority, true freedom. In this understanding lies power. In this practice lies peace. In this wisdom lives freedom. Let them judge, you keep your peace. Let them opine, you keep your power. Let them project, you keep your truth. The calmest person in the room owns the room. In the dynamics of human interaction, there exists a power that supersedes position, wealth, or eloquence, the power of unshakable calm. When chaos swirls, when emotions run high, when pressure mounts, the person who maintains their center becomes the natural center of influence. Here's what most people don't understand. Leadership is not granted by title. It emerges from presence. True authority doesn't come from asserting power. It comes from embodying peace. The calmest person in any situation naturally becomes its leader because calm is the rarest and most needed quality in times of stress. I've witnessed this countless times in Senate chambers and on battlefields. Those who shouted loudest often had the least impact, while those who maintained calm composure naturally drew others into their orbit of influence. The quality of your leadership is directly proportional to your capacity for calm. But let me ask you this. In your last challenging situation, who was the calmest person present? Did you notice how others naturally looked to them for guidance? How their words carried more weight? How their very presence seemed to alter the energy of the room? The practice begins with understanding the elements of calm leadership: presence that anchors, silence that speaks, patience that guides peace, that influences stillness that leads. Consider this truth. People naturally follow calm because calm represents mastery. When someone maintains their center while others lose theirs, they demonstrate a power that command can never match: the power of self-command. Here's what most don't realize. Leadership through calm isn't passive. It's the most active form of influence possible. It doesn't just affect what people do, it affects who they become in your presence. Your calm becomes their capability. The practice is this: in any situation of challenge or chaos, become deliberately, intentionally calmer than your surroundings. Not removed, not detached, but present with unshakable peace. Watch how this alone begins to shift the entire dynamic. Think of it like this. In a storm, everyone looks for an anchor. The person who has found their own center becomes that anchor for others, not through force, not through effort, but through the natural magnetism of genuine calm. The path to calm leadership involves several key practices: maintaining presence under pressure, speaking less but with more impact, moving deliberately rather than reactively, deciding from clarity rather than urgency, responding to chaos with increased calm. But remember this crucial distinction: calm leadership isn't about suppressing energy, it's about mastering it. It's not about being passive, it's about being so centered that your very presence becomes an active force for peace and clarity. Here's a vital truth: the calmer you become, the more power you can handle responsibly. The more centered you are, the greater influence you can wield wisely. The more peaceful your presence, the more profound your impact on others. The practice requires consistency. Start with small situations. Notice how your level of calm affects the room. Practice intentionally lowering your energy when tensions rise. Learn to speak more quietly when others speak loudly. Move more slowly when others rush. Consider these domains of calm leadership. In crisis, be the eye of the storm. In conflict, be the voice of peace. In chaos, be the force of order. In confusion, be the source of clarity. In reaction, be the presence of response. This is not about becoming emotionless or detached. It's about becoming so grounded that you can maintain your center while fully engaging with whatever arises. It's about being the calm that others can borrow when they've lost their own. Remember, every time you maintain calm while others lose, you demonstrate true leadership. Every time you respond with peace to provocation, you show real power. Every time you meet chaos with clarity, you exhibit genuine authority. Your task is not to seek leadership through assertion, but to embody it through calm presence, not to command attention, but to command yourself so completely that attention naturally follows, not to impose order, but to be so ordered within that order spreads through your mere presence. Through this practice, you develop natural authority, effortless influence, magnetic presence, trusted leadership. Lasting impact. In this understanding lies true power. In this practice lies real leadership. In this wisdom lives lasting influence. Be the calm. Own the room. Lead through peace. In fire, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your training. When pressure mounts, when crisis strikes, when the moment of truth arrives, an essential reality becomes clear. Your response in moments of pressure is not a creation of the moment. It's a revelation of your preparation. The calm you seek in crisis must be built in peace. Here's what most people don't understand. Pressure doesn't create character. It reveals it. It doesn't generate strength. It exposes what strength you've already built. The person you become in life's most challenging moments was shaped in all the moments that came before. I've seen it repeatedly in battle and in governance. Those who expected to find strength in the moment often broke under pressure. while those who built strength through consistent practice remained unshaken. The quality of your response to pressure directly reflects the quality of your preparation. But let me ask you this: how do you prepare for pressure? Do you wait for challenges to strengthen you? Or do you strengthen yourself daily so you're ready when challenges come? Most people hope they'll rise to the occasion, never realizing that hope is not a strategy. The practice begins with understanding the nature of pressure. It amplifies what's already there. It exposes what's been neglected. It reveals true priorities. It tests every weakness. It demands immediate truth. Consider this fundamental truth. Under pressure, you don't become a different person. You become a more concentrated version of who you already are. Your daily habits, your regular thoughts, your consistent choices, these create the foundation that either holds or crumbles when tested. Here's what most don't realize. The calm you need in crisis isn't something you can summon in the moment. It's something you must cultivate every day. Every small choice to remain centered in minor irritations builds the capacity to remain centered in major challenges. The practice is this: train harder than the test. Make your daily practice more demanding than your expected challenges. Create controlled pressure in your life so that real pressure feels familiar when it arrives. Think of it like this: an athlete doesn't begin training when they see the competition approaching. They train consistently so that when competition arrives, they're already prepared. Your mind must be trained with the same dedication. The path to pressure readiness involves several key practices: daily meditation to build mental stability, regular physical challenge to strengthen will, intentional discomfort to expand capacity, consistent reflection to deepen understanding, deliberate practice of calm under stress. But remember this crucial distinction: training for pressure isn't about becoming tense or rigid. It's about becoming so thoroughly prepared that you can remain relaxed, even when everything around you calls for tension. Here's a vital insight: the best pressure training happens in everyday moments. Every time you maintain calm in traffic, you're training. Every time you respond rather than react to provocation, you're training. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're training. The practice requires systematic approach. Start with small pressures. Build your capacity gradually but consistently. Create challenges for yourself before life creates them for you. Make every day a preparation for your most important moments. Consider these domains of pressure training. In comfort, choose occasional discomfort. In ease, embrace voluntary challenge. In routine, insert strategic stress in calm. Practice maintaining peace in rest. Engage purposeful effort. This is not about living in constant tension. It's about building such deep reserves of strength that pressure becomes just another condition to navigate, not an emergency to survive. Remember, every easy choice today makes you weaker for tomorrow's challenges. Every difficult choice today makes you stronger for tomorrow's tests. Every moment of voluntary discipline builds involuntary strength. Your task is not to avoid pressure. It will find you regardless. Your task is to prepare so thoroughly that pressure becomes a familiar friend rather than a dreaded enemy. Not to hope you'll rise to the occasion, but to train so thoroughly that rising becomes natural. Through this practice, you develop unshakable foundation, tested strength, ready wisdom, natural calm, reliable character. In this understanding lies true preparation. In this practice lies real strength. In this wisdom lives lasting calm. Train now for what's coming. Build today what you'll need tomorrow. Prepare in peace for the tests of fire. If you can see yourself calm, you can become it. In the architecture of personal transformation, few tools carry more power than the mind's ability to visualize. The person you become tomorrow is first created in the workshop of your imagination today. The calm you seek must first be seen with your inner eye before it can manifest in your outer reality. Here's what most people don't understand. Visualization isn't mere daydreaming. It's mental rehearsal. It's not escape from reality, it's preparation for reality. The mind cannot easily distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one, and in this truth lies tremendous power for transformation. I've witnessed this principle at work in warriors and leaders, those who could clearly visualize themselves maintaining calm in chaos were the ones who actually did so when chaos arrived. The quality of your visualization directly influences the quality of your manifestation. But let me ask you this. How clearly can you see yourself remaining calm in your most challenging situations? Can you visualize yourself maintaining peace when everything around you calls for panic? Most people never harness the power of visualization because they don't understand its profound impact on behavior. The practice begins with creating a clear mental image. See yourself in detail. Feel the emotions fully, engage all senses, make it vivid and real. Practice regularly and systematically. Consider this truth. Every great achievement was first a picture in someone's mind. Every moment of maintained calm in crisis was first rehearsed in someone's imagination. The clearer your mental picture of your ideal self, the more powerfully it shapes your actual self. Here's what most don't realize. Visualization works because your nervous system responds to mental images almost as strongly as it responds to real experiences. When you vividly imagine yourself calm under pressure, you're actually training your system to create that reality. The practice is this. Several times each day, create a clear mental movie of yourself, demonstrating perfect calm in various situations. See the details, feel the sensations, experience the emotions. Make it as real as possible in your mind. Think of it like this. An archer sees the arrow hitting the target before releasing it. A musician hears the perfect note before playing it. Your calm self must be clearly seen in your mind's eye before it can manifest in your life. The path to effective visualization involves several key elements: regular daily practice, increasing detail and vividness, emotional engagement, physical, sensation, clear outcome focus. But remember this crucial distinction. Visualization isn't about escaping from reality. It's about programming yourself for a new reality. It's not wishful thinking. It's deliberate mental training. Here's a vital truth. The more clearly you can see yourself calm, the more naturally you become calm. The more vividly you can imagine yourself centered, the more automatically you return to center when challenged. The practice requires dedication. Start with short, simple visualizations. See yourself handling small challenges with perfect calm. Gradually increase the complexity and intensity of the scenarios. Build your mental muscles systematically. Consider these domains of visualization. In conflict, see yourself responding with peace. In crisis, picture yourself maintaining clarity. In chaos, imagine your unshakable center. In challenge, visualize your composed strength in change. See your adaptable calm. This is not about creating fantasy. It's about programming reality. It's about installing new patterns in your nervous system through the power of focused imagination. Remember, every great performance is first rehearsed in the mind. Every moment of mastery is first practiced in imagination. Every achievement of calm is first visualized in perfect detail. Your task is not to merely hope for calm, it's to see it so clearly that your mind and body know exactly what to create. Not to wish for peace, but to visualize it so vividly that it becomes your natural state. Through this practice, you develop clear mental models, programmed responses, automatic calm, natural peace, effortless control. The process is systematic. See yourself in the challenging situation. Feel the initial impulse to react. Visualize choosing calm instead. Experience the sensation of peace. See the positive outcome clearly. Repeat until it feels natural. In this understanding lies transformative power. In this practice lies real change. In this wisdom lives lasting transformation. See it clearly, feel it fully, become it naturally. People forget your words, they remember your calm. In the grand tapestry of life, Few threads weave more influence than the quiet power of maintained composure. Long after your words fade from memory, long after your actions blend into the past, what remains is the lasting impression of your presence, your calm in chaos, your peace in pressure, your clarity in confusion. Here's what most people don't understand. Your greatest legacy isn't what you achieve, it's who you become and how that transforms others. The calm you cultivate doesn't just change your life, it changes every life you touch. It creates ripples that continue long after you're gone. I've seen it throughout history. Those who spoke loudly are often forgotten, while those who maintained calm dignity in crucial moments are remembered for generations. The quality of your presence affects not just your moment, but the future itself. But let me ask you this. What impression does your presence leave on others? When you exit a room, what energy remains? When you face a crisis, what lesson do you teach through your composure? Most people never consider that their level of calm is creating their most lasting impact. The practice begins with understanding the layers of legacy. Immediate impact through presence, lasting influence through example, generational effect through transformation, cultural change through inspiration, historical resonance through wisdom. Consider this truth. Every time you maintain calm in a difficult moment, you teach others that such calm is possible. Every time you respond with peace to provocation, you demonstrate a better way. Your composure becomes a gift that keeps giving. Here's what most don't realize. The calm you achieve isn't just personal, it's transformational. It affects not just your experience, but the experience of everyone around you. It creates a field of possibility that others can step into. The practice is this. In every interaction, every challenge, every moment of potential reaction, remember that you're not just choosing your response, you're teaching others what's possible. You're not just maintaining calm, you're showing others the way to calm. Think of it like this. A parent's calm in crisis teaches children more than 1,000 lectures on peace. A leader's composure in chaos instructs more powerfully than any manual on leadership. Your calm is your most powerful teaching tool. The path to lasting influence involves several key understandings. Calm is contagious, peace multiplies, composure teaches presence, transforms, example endures. But remember this. Crucial truth, your legacy of calm isn't built in grand moments. It's built in daily choices. It's the accumulated effect of choosing peace over reaction, clarity over confusion, composure over chaos, again and again. Here's a vital insight. The more deeply you embody calm, the more naturally others learn from your example. You don't need to preach peace, you need to be peace. You don't need to teach calm, you need to live it. The practice requires awareness. Start noticing how your level of calm affects others. Watch how your peace influences situations. Observe how your composure changes outcomes. Let this understanding deepen your commitment to maintaining center. Consider these domains of influence. In family, model unshakable peace. In work, demonstrate composed power. In community, embody stable presence in crisis. Show centered strength in conflict. Exemplify peaceful wisdom. This is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming beneficial. It's not about never feeling disturbed. It's about showing others how to return to peace when disturbed. Remember, every moment of maintained calm creates a template that others can follow. Every instance of chosen peace leaves a trail that others can walk. Every example of composure under pressure establishes a possibility that others can embrace. Your task is not to directly change others, it's to so thoroughly embody calm that change becomes natural for those around you. Not to force transformation, but to create an environment where transformation can flourish. Through this practice, you create living examples, silent teachings, powerful influence, lasting impact, transformative presence. The process is natural. Deepen your own calm. Maintain it in challenge. Let others witness it. Support their growth. Watch change spread. Trust the process. In this understanding lies true influence. In this practice lies real legacy. In this wisdom lives lasting impact. Be the calm. Show the way. Transform the world. When you are unmoved, the world moves around you. At the summit of personal mastery lies a truth so profound, it transforms everything. When you achieve true inner stillness, you become the still point around which the world turns, not through force, not through will, but through the magnetic power of unshakable presence. Here's what most people don't understand. The ultimate power isn't in moving the world. It's in becoming so centered that the world naturally aligns itself around your stillness. When you're truly unmoved, you become the reference point for everything that moves. I've witnessed this principle at the highest levels of power. Those who tried to move the world through force eventually exhausted themselves, while those who found their center became natural axes of change. The quality of your stillness determines the extent of your influence. But let me ask you this. Have you experienced moments when your very stillness seemed to organize chaos around you? When your calm presence appeared to bring order to confusion? Most people spend their lives trying to change the world, never realizing that becoming unchangeable changes everything. The practice begins with establishing your center. Find your innermost stillness, root in unshakable presence, maintain unwavering peace, embody stable awareness. Become the reference point. Consider this truth. A compass needle doesn't move the magnetic field. It simply aligns with it and thereby provides direction for others. Your centered presence works the same way. It doesn't force change. It offers orientation. Here's what most don't realize. Being the still point isn't passive. It's the most active force in the universe. It's not about doing nothing. It's about becoming the kind of presence that naturally organizes everything around it. The practice is this. In any situation of chaos or change, focus not on changing what's around you, but on deepening your own center. The more unmoved you become, the more powerfully you affect everything that moves. Think of it like this. In a storm, everything that isn't anchored gets blown about. But the deeply rooted tree doesn't just maintain its position, it becomes a shelter for others. Your centered presence works the same way. The path to becoming the still point involves several key elements: absolute self-trust, unshakable peace, magnetic presence, natural authority, effortless influence. But remember this crucial distinction: being unmoved doesn't mean being unresponsive. It means being so deeply centered that you can respond to everything while being displaced by nothing. Here's a vital truth. The more completely you find your center, the more powerfully you affect your environment. The more unshakable you become, the more naturally others orient themselves around your stability. The practice requires total commitment. Start with finding your center in small moments. Notice how your stillness affects situations. Observe how your calm influences others. Build your capacity to remain unmoved gradually but consistently. Consider these domains of stillness. In movement, be the axis. In change, be the constant in chaos. Be the order. In confusion, be the clarity in reaction. Be the response. This is not about becoming rigid or inflexible. It's about becoming so deeply rooted in your center that you can bend without breaking, adapt without losing yourself, flow without being swept away. Remember, every time you maintain your center, you create a field of stability that affects everything around you. Every moment of true stillness becomes a reference point for those in motion. Every instance of maintained peace creates an island of calm in the ocean of chaos. Your task is not to change the world through force. It's to become so centered that change naturally occurs around you. Not to impose order, but to embody such deep order that chaos naturally organizes itself in your presence. Through this practice, you become the still point, the reference, the anchor, the center, the source. The process is natural. Find your center, deepen your roots, Maintain your peace, hold your ground. Watch change happen. Trust the process. The final truth is this: when you finally stop trying to move the world and instead become truly unmoved, you discover that the world has been waiting to organize itself around you all along. Your task was never to force change. It was to become the kind of presence that makes change inevitable. In this understanding lies ultimate power. In this practice lies final peace. In this wisdom lives lasting transformation. Be still. Stay centered. Watch the world turn around you. Remember, you already have what it takes. Now, go prove it.